So you're playing Final Fantasy Tactics War of the Lions, and your crew is unstoppable. You're demolishing the storylines. There's nothing that can stand in your way. That is, until your friend steps in and says, "My characters are even better." So how are you going to settle this argument? There's only one way, and that's melee. If this is your first melee, you're going to see some unusual options. That's why today we're going to go over all of them, so you have the most fun for your first PvP match. Hi everyone, this is Mikey from Final Fantasy Tactics Live Tournament. And if you've been with me before, you may notice some changes behind me. I finally got around to setting up my little set with all my nerdy knickknacks and affectations. Don't let that distract you from the real purpose why we're here today, and that's getting you started in Final Fantasy Tactics PvP. Unlocking melee mode is really just as easy as getting through that very first battle where you're fending off the Death Brigade in Garland Magic City. Afterward, you can go straight into the tavern and you'll see melee and rendezvous right away. That means with your very first round of generic picks, your squires and chemists, they're already ready for PvP. You may want to progress through the story a little bit farther and unlock more jobs and abilities, get better equipment, before you actually dive into PvP and expect a really dynamic match. So whenever you're ready to battle it out with your friend, the tavern will always be there for you. What you'll both want to do first is go ahead and accept the melee option, and then the bartender will ask you for a small fee to connect with another PSP. So go ahead and pay the fee, and if you don't have enough gil, well, you may want to do some random battles, gather some money, maybe sell some stuff off that you don't need, and then you're ready to fight. Now, after you've chosen who is going to be the host and who's going to be the guest, the host will host the game, and then the guest will attempt to join the game. PSPs don't have what we would consider now to be modern wireless technology. So if you're having trouble connecting with your PSPs, try moving a little bit closer, or try facing each other instead of maybe on the other side of a wall. That way it will help the PSPs communicate a little bit better. If you're still having trouble, try swapping the roles. So whoever was the guest should be hosting, and whoever was the host should try joining that game instead. Oh, and also, if you have an earlier PSP model, make sure your WLAN switch is turned to on instead of in the offline mode. Once the PSPs have connected with one another, you're going straight into the rule settings. First up is your map selection. For your map, you can choose whether you want your selection to be manual, and then you can go up and down the list of all the maps you've unlocked up to that point. Or you can go into random and the computer will choose for you. Don't worry if the computer chooses something randomly and you don't like it, say Midlight Deeps where the whole map is dark. You can cycle through and just reject the one that they offer you until you find one that lands on something fun. The next option to decide is your time limit. You can choose between 5, 10, 15 minutes, or no time limit. I'm going to take a minute to kind of explain the time limit because it isn't exactly intuitive. At the end of the time limit, you now have 15 seconds to move, act, and choose a wait direction. If you can't complete all of those within 15 seconds, then you forfeit your turn. If both players run out of time, then they're both left to 15-second time intervals for their complete turns. It does not mean that a winner is determined once both time limits have been reached, nor do you go into a sudden death mode. You will still need to completely wipe out the other side to attain victory, even with a time limit. Next up on the menu options are action limits. This is fortunately much more straightforward than time limit. You can set how many actions in total for both sides until the battle results are determined. You can choose between 20 actions, 40, 60, or no action limit at all. Once the action limit has been reached, the match ends, and whoever has more KOs at that point wins. Now I want to be clear that you can still have your character move and wait and not actually take an action. Following the action limit are special controls. Special controls are melee-specific options that make your battle a little more engaging. What this means is when you attack, a little exclamation point will pop up, and depending on your hit percentage, it will appear faster or slower, giving you a bigger window to press X and get a critical hit that has a chance of pushing the unit back one space. In addition, there's kind of a tap battle that you can get into if when you swing at your opponent within melee range and the hit percentage is between 40% and 60%, you'll go into a tap battle to determine if that attack actually hits or not. What is a tap battle? Well, you'll see an indicator from a character when he goes to attack within that hit range. At that point, the computer will prompt both the defender and the attacker to press X as rapidly as they can. Whoever presses X more times, their attack or defense is going to be successful. So special actions give you another layer of interactivity instead of just watching your character swing and attack, relying on their hit percentage in the computer to determine the outcome. You have a little bit more say of how the attack is actually going to go. Next, we're going to talk about traps and trap placement. The melee menu gives you the option to place traps on the map for your PvP battle. These traps can be placed manually or randomly. You also have the option of 2, 5, or 10 traps for each side. During battle, when a unit steps on a trap, they have the chance to avoid the trap by pressing a combination of directions and buttons, and if successful, they will avoid it. But if they fail, well, the trap goes off and can be a little devastating. After you've chosen your characters for the battle, you're taken to the trap placement screen, where you're able to randomly distribute them and cycle through the placements that the computer gives you until you find one that you like. Or you can place them manually, and you're given several options of what kind of trap you'd like to place. The last melee option, and the most important to me, is whether or not you'd like to include arithmetics. I find arithmetics to be great in the storyline when I want to one-shot the entire map. Unfortunately for PvP, that doesn't make for as fun of an experience. So if you like arithmetics a lot and you just want an open and free battle, make sure you leave them on, but otherwise, I prefer to leave them off. Once the host is finished deciding all the rules, it's given over to the guest to review. It's not like they can reject it, they just have to look at them, understand how the rules have been set, and then confirm that they've read them. At this point, the host gets to choose a map, whether manually or randomly, and then we go into the character select screen. Once you've chosen your characters, the match starts, and the battle begins. A victor is determined either at the end of your action limit or once one side has completely KO'd the other. If you are victorious in your battle, you get to take 3 treasure chests from a randomly generated but hidden ring of items. The quality of these items increases with the average level of both your participants and your opponent's participants. What this means is if everybody is level 99, pretty much every treasure chest in that ring is going to be a level 99 item. If you are defeated in the battle, you only get one choice of a random ring of chests. You have a better chance of getting a good item if you beat your opponent more handedly. Now, you can use this to your advantage. Let's say you come into battle with 1 character, your opponent comes into the battle with 5, and you mop the floor with him. Your choices, your 3 choices for winning the battle are most likely going to be very, very good. So if you just want to stock up on awesome items, play some matches where you're outnumbered and your opponent just throws it for you. Then switch and just keep doing that over and over again until you have a crew fully decked out in amazing PvP gear. Some other things I would suggest considering for your PvP matches is based on your map size. You may want to scale down how many characters you bring. Some maps are really large and spread out, I would go 4v4 or 5v5 on those maps. Or if you're playing on a smaller map and it's a little more cramped and straightforward, doesn't give you many hiding places, you may want to go 3v3 or 2v2 instead. If you're finding that you're having difficulty balancing the teams and one person is just destroying the other, try using the same save file, so you're just playing the same squad. That way, there's no level disparity or item disparity that is going to create a clear winner before the battle has even begun. Well, that's a wrap for today. I hope this inspires you to grab a friend and start that melee match. If it's your first time watching the channel, welcome. I want you to know that this video series is here to serve the community and foster a discussion about Final Fantasy Tactics PvP. With more engagement across the community, we can grow a PvP scene into an actual competitive esports event. And with enough attention, I think we can get developers to look at modernizing Final Fantasy Tactics so we don't have to be stuck playing on last generation hardware. If this isn't your first time here, welcome back. It's good to see you again. Please leave me a like, subscribe to the channel for updates. We'll be having other videos coming out in the future talking about balancing teams, creating pre-made rosters, and even manipulating your stats using just natural methods already built into the game so that your PvP characters get stronger and stronger with every battle. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I will see you in the next video, and until then, be well.